What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another weekly review, weekly forecast, weekly outlook, and yeah, let's get straight into things. So I'm starting here on the economic calendar. I'm using my FX book, and you can see that we do have high impact news pretty much every day. However, with the US dollar specifically, we only have high impact news on the Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. So we do have CPI. CPI is always good fun. And then on Thursday, we have PPI, followed by Friday with some more high impact news. And then on the Wednesday, we also have GBP with some high impact news. So this week, what am I looking at? Well, I'm definitely going to be paying close attention to GBP, especially with the Wednesday, seeing if there's any setups forming, etc. And then in terms of trading, I'm probably going to leave Monday out because there's no high impact on the US dollar, and then look for CPI for potential setups for the rest of the week. I do think Thursday and Friday should have some nice setups. That tends to be how it is. I'm usually stronger on my Thursday and Fridays, I think. But yeah, it should be an interesting week to say the least. So now let's get over to the charts. And I'm going to be starting on dollar monthly. And there's a few things I want to bring our attention to. First, I want to bring our attention to the low of last month. That's right here. And the reason for that is because price may want to retrade into this as we continue lower, if that is what price wants to do. So let me just get this drawn out, written out, and I'm going to put Feb low, just so we know that's the low of February. And then another thing I want to bring our attention to is this order block here from December. And if you look at the midpoint of this, you'll see that we've just traded to the 50% level. So the next level would then be this 25% level in terms of targeting. Now, it's not that simple as in price is going to go here and then here. But once we drop down to the lower time frames, you'll be able to see why I'm delineating these levels. So I'm just going to get them marked out for us. So we have the 25% level right here. 25% of monthly bullish order block. Oh, I always end up doing that. And then we also have the 50% level, right here, which is also what we call mean thresholds. So let's just get that written out as 50%. And now we have three levels marked on our charts from the monthly. We have this low, which may get referred to, because remember, the high, the low, the open and close of candles are the most sensitive according to ICT. And then the 50% level is also very sensitive, as that's mean threshold. So we want to see our prices acting around this and whether it can help propel us to that 25% level. So let's go down to the weekly now. And you can see that last week we had clear displacement. This was the kind of displacement I needed to see in the markets, especially after all the consolidation we've had running into the new year. This is the kind of displacement I like to see for me to start framing clear direction. So I'm happy to see this. You can see we closed below this low as well, which you can see is February's low. So that's nice to see. And the fact that we closed below it is saying to me that price is likely going to want to continue lower. Another thing I want to look at is this bearish order block right here. We can look at this as a potential reclaimed bearish order block, as in price may want to trade back into this, and if it does, it should treat it the same way it treated it here. So back in December, you can see this is a bearish order block. So so smart money may want to sell back into that if we do get offered it. So let me just get that written out as well as potential reclaimed bearish order block. Now, bearish order reclaimed blocks are very difficult to see and understand completely. But this week, if we do trade into it, I'll be speaking about it a lot, and hopefully you'll grasp an understanding of what I mean by wanting to see price trade back up there. But the idea of price trading back up there is in line with the idea of it trading back into that February low. And once we go to the daily, we'll be able to get a better look at that. Another thing to take note of, we have a nice fair value gap right here. Very clean, very clear. So let's get that drawn out as a target for this week. So let's make this blue. And then we can type in weekly fair value gap. So this week in general, I am expecting a down close week, meaning that I want to see price draw its way towards a weekly fair value gap. So what does that mean? It means I want to see the high get made on either the Monday and Tuesday, preferably with some continuation on Thursday, Friday to the downside. But again, with CPI, PPI and things like that, you know, the week can deliver in very messy ways, and we need to take that into consideration. But at least now that we've had clear displacement to the downside and a break in market structure, once we close below this low, that's a break, we can start looking for shorting opportunities on dollar and longs on the pairs. So let's go down to the daily now. And there are a lot of lines on the screen, don't get me wrong, I can see. So if it does get too messy, I'll simply just clean it up. And here on the daily, now you can see that potential reclaimed bearish order block level, that February low, which we just traded through and closed on a low on Thursday. and that 50% level that we just traded to as well and had a nice reaction off of, which is typical of price. When we hit the 50% level of ranges, that tends to happen very much. And then of course we have the weekly fair value gap. So another thing I want to bring our attention to, this time on the daily, we have relative equal lows here and here. So we can mark that out as sell side liquidity. Very simple level right there. And again, here we have a bullish order block, but because we've delivered on the downside now and traded and closed below it, this should act as a bearish order block. And what does that line up with? That lines up with our potential reclaimed bearish order block and the February low as being a point of selling. So this is going to be a level that I'm going to be taking close consideration of, but I'm not going to have that marked out purely because I don't really want to be looking over here. I'd rather be looking on this sell side. Now on the daily, you can see there's fair value gaps here between Tuesday and Thursday's high, and then a fair value gap here between Wednesday's low and Friday's high. So the fair value gap that I'm going to be watching closely to get traded into to create the high of the week is going to be this fair value gap. So I'm going to make this orange, and I'm just going to write daily fair value gap, and I anticipate price to trade into this. Preferably price does not close it. I don't want to see price necessarily close it completely. Don't get me wrong, we can wick up there, but I want to see price trade into it to offer the high of the week for a potential continuation to the downside. Another thing to consider is that if we look at the midpoint of this, so the middle line, you can see that lines up pretty much nicely with that potential reclaim bearish order block. So basically what I'm saying is that moving into Monday and Tuesday, I want to see, does price trade into here and how does it treat this level? If there's nice resistance, just as anticipated, then we can start looking for shorts on dollar with the expectation to go long on the pairs. Where would we then be short into? Well, like I said, we have that 50% level that we've wicked down already, but you can see there's relative equal lows here between this low and this low. So from here, we can start looking for shorts to start running down to here with a potential reach for that weekly fair value gap. So you can see how displacement's really helping us to frame potential moves for the week. But yeah, generally speaking, I have my close attention on this daily fair value gap. If price overshoots it, then I'll be watching this low up here. Preferably, like I said, price doesn't reach up there. And the reason for that is just because I want to see continued bearishness. I am going to go to the 4 hour. And you can see how price came off that 50% level, kind of just consolidating. Again, Monday may be quiet, but it's not typical. It is typical for price to be active on the Mondays after non-farm payroll. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some kind of movement. But generally speaking, again, I want to see us trade into that daily fair value gap to create the high of the week. There is a bearish order block up here as well. So that's another level I'll be paying close attention to if price does manage to reach up there. One thing I did notice on the 1 hour is we do have a nice little swing high right here. This is a bearish order block. However, this is a significant swing high, as in price could use that to sell stops above, as in there's going to be buy side liquidity residing above this high. And again, typical of price, I wouldn't be surprised if we created a swing high to engineer liquidity that would then take later for us to move lower. Now, I can't obviously see that far into the future. Well, I can't see into the future at all, guys. But what I'm saying is that I'm anticipating this high to get traded to before we start looking for shorts. So I'm not thinking about any kind of trading until I see some kind of buy stops taken with the expectation for me to be moving lower in the week. We also have a nice breaker in this range as well. We've got a high, a low, a high, and then price is delivered to the downside. So I'm looking at that last down close candle right here as a potential target as well for the high of the week. So again, I'm going to be watching what time does price trade into this low. Is it, New York kill zone 8:30? If that's the case, probably a nice setup is going to form, and then we can probably watch some nice deliverance to the downside after that. But it is just a matter of waiting and seeing how Monday trades, to be honest. 15 minute, there's not really anything on the 15 minute. You can see we're kind of just consolidation right now. But again, there's that buy side liquidity I was talking about. You can see the breaker set up there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see price trade up here first at the beginning of the week. Let's just bring that to the front. So yeah, that's going to be everything on dollar. I hope that all makes clear sense. And yeah, really, I've just got my eyes on this weekly fair value gap. But before that gets traded to, I am watching to see how do we trade up into this level. So I'm going to get rid of some stuff here just to make it a little bit more clean. And I do want to go to the daily real quick. Let me just clean this up real quick. If we go to the daily, and I'm going to take out this midpoint because that's just going to confuse me. This volume imbalance. Now, we did wick through it, but we still haven't closed below it. So price is still going to use this as a reference point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this gray, just because I don't want it to, you know, disrupt my chart, so to speak. But the reason I'm still keeping my eyes set on this is because, again, price is going to use this to gyrate as like a buffer. So if we trade higher, you might find that price finds support on this level, and then when we trade lower, we may see a clear down close candle right through it, and then find resistance as a potential setup for a short into the weekly. So I'm going to keep this drawn out just because it's there, and the fact that we've wicked through it, you know, is still significantly relevant to me. So I'm definitely paying close attention to that. So yeah, that's everything on dollar. I hope that makes sense. Now we can go over to GBPUSD, and we'll start on the monthly there as well. Now here's GBPUSD on the monthly, and then you can see that we're starting to trade up into this longer wick here, and I'm looking at this fair value gap mainly. So on the monthly, in terms of targets, I do like the look of this fair value gap up here. Now I'm not saying price is going to reach it this month, especially not this week necessarily, but this is my draw on liquidity for sure, lined up nicely with this bearish order block. Like, this is bearish order block, fair value gap in a premium as well, off a range, because remember we've got this range from this high to this low premium. This is you know, classic setup for, you know, long-term position trading, as in once price reaches into here, we can think about shorts. But that's definitely my draw on liquidity, so we can put monthly fair value gap, because I do believe price is going to seek to want to fill that monthly fair value gap. Another thing I want to bring our attention to is this long wick, and yep, you got it right. I'm definitely going to mark out the midpoint, because price is going to see this as a reference point for price as well. So let's get that drawn out. I'm going to make it red, I'm going to make it dashed, and I'm going to write monthly consequent encroachment. And I want to see, can price trade to that? If price does trade to that successfully, I'd then be looking to see how price is acting on the lower time frames to see, okay, are we going to find support? And if we do, then I'd start thinking about these highs here, and this monthly fair value gap to get traded to. But first, and this week more so, specifically this week, I'm looking for this consequent encroachment to get traded to. Another thing I'm looking at is this old low, the high, sorry, from December. Similarly to how I was bringing our attention to that low from February, I'm looking at this high from December. I want to see how price trades in this range. So what I am going to do for now is I am going to draw out this, and I'm going to make it white just to show how price action has traded through it. And then when we drop to the lower time frames, within this range, I know I want to find support, more specifically at the 50% level. So on the lower time frames, I'm going to be looking for PD arrays around this level that price may use to propel price higher. But let's go down to the weekly, and you can see how price traded aggressively higher, closing above this high as well. That's significant. Peaked above this high, and wait, my monthly level isn't being let me see. There we go. Weekly. There. So this is that monthly consequent encroachment that I want to see price work its way up to. And you'll see that there's a high there as well. So this is what I have my eyes set on for the new week. But again, this is that monthly wick I was talking about, right? So as price pulls back into this range, I'd like to think that the low of the week can get made in here. We do have a mitigation block. And what I mean by that is that we have a low. And when I'm explaining this, look at the volume. Don't look at the wicks. Look at the volume. We have a low, we have a high, we have a higher low, and then price is broken to the upside. So I'm looking at this as a mitigation level for price. Now, although I was telling you to look at the volume, I am looking at the wicks as a reference point for price. And you can see that this high with the highest volume close, I hope I'm making sense right now. This candle specifically, I'm looking at the high of this for price to draw down into, which lines up perfectly with the midpoint of that wick. And the reason for that, the reason I'm looking at this candle specifically is because this has got the highest closed. So I don't really care about this wick so much. It's more so this wick's high, and you can see that lines up with the 50% level. So that's what I have my eye set on in terms of sell side for price to trade to, before then trading higher into last week's high, and again working its way into this range and potentially up to this monthly consequent encroachment. We'll go to the daily, and you'll see that high is right here, and you'll also see a fair value gap similar to what we saw on dollar. So I'm going to draw this out, and again it's pretty much the same as what I was saying on dollar, so but inverted. I want price to trade into it. I don't really want to see it get filled. I would like to think that price can dip down, offer a nice entry for a long, see a nice setup, for continuation to the upside, with the expectation to run into these highs up here and monthly consequent encroachment. And what you'll find as well is we do have a daily fair value gap residing up here as well, so we can get that drawn out. Yes, we wicked into it once, but you'll see just above that is where, you know, there's only been delivery on the downside, so price should seek to fill that, so we can get that drawn out as a fair value gap on the daily. And it's crazy how much more clear price action becomes after you have displacement, because we were in consolidation and held in consolidation for so long, but you can see how much more comfortable I am explaining and understanding where price is likely to want to draw to. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be right. We'll have to wait and see how we trade, obviously, but at least now I have some kind of direction. So you can see we spooled higher, trading above, running out all of these beautiful buy stops. And again, if we're going to be closing higher in the week, we want to see Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday create the low. Preferably Monday. I doubt it will do it on Monday. Tuesday, I'm looking to create the low. As it's creating the low, I'm expecting it to be formed in this fair value gap, so I'll have my eyes set very closely on that. And what you'll find is we actually do have a breaker within the mitigation. So the mitigation was here, low, high, higher low, broke higher, so I'm looking at this level. But then on the lower time frame on the daily, there's a breaker, low, high, lower low, and then price trades higher. So you can see how these PD arrays and data points overlap with each other, and although it doesn't give us an exact price, it's really allowing us to hone in on where price is likely to draw to for us then to start anticipating and looking for setups. So specifically, I'm looking at this last up close candle right here. We can make this orange. I'll make an orange line coming out of it, because that would be the lowest I'd want to see price trade, very lowest. If we go to the 4 hour, you can see that lines up with a bullish order block right here, and again you can see that breaker, low, high, lower low, and then price has only moved higher since. So price should refer back to this level, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that happen on Tuesday or Wednesday for a setup to then form. So again, moving into the new week, we'll let Monday trade cleanly. We'll let Monday trade completely, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll then be drawing our attention likely to this level as a potential low of the week. So yeah, that's my understanding of pound. And finally, let's finish up on EURUSD, and I'm going to start on the monthly here as well. So again, what am I looking for? Well, now that we've had displacement and clear displacement, I'm looking for premium arrays that price will want to draw to. We do have a rejection block level right here. Why is this a rejection block level? This is a rejection block level because you see this small wick on top of January's trading. It traded slightly up, and then what happened? Price got rejected away to the downside. So this whole candle, this wick right here, is a rejection block. So I'm looking for price to draw up towards that. Now, understanding rejection blocks took me some time to learn, and even now I don't fully understand what they are, but I do believe this is going to be an example of us witnessing price trade into it. Monthly rejection block, right, cool. And then in terms of where in that block, it would simply be the 50% level, consequent encroachment. But remember, this is the monthly, so price doesn't necessarily need to reach up there, you know, this week or anything. But at least we have, again, a draw on liquidity, which is the main thing. Now this acts as a bullish order block, this last month's high. So we can now look at that high as, well, bullish order block high. So when price trades into it, what do we expect? It to propel price higher. So we'll get that drawn out, and we can write monthly bullish order block. But the fact that we're still trading in this month does mean that, well, no, we've traded through it now, so it is a okay, yeah, cool. Never mind. Let's go to the weekly. You can see that bullish order block right there. We traded through implied fair value gap I was talking about around here. You can see we've traded through that, closed above this high. It's little things like that, little signatures like this, closing above this high is what I like to see, and tells me that price is likely going to want to continue to the upside. And then we have a swing high up here with a fair value gap just below that monthly rejection block. So in the weekly, we do have this fair value gap that I think price is going to seek to trade into. So let's get that drawn out as weekly fair value gap. And then in terms of a low for next week, I am looking at this wick slightly. What we'll do is I'll drag it out, and then we'll drop down to the lower time frames and see how price is looking at it. So let's just get that delineated like so. But I do like the fact that we've taken out this high, and I do like the fact that we've closed above this high. Let's now go down to the daily, and you'll see again that level I was talking about. And yeah, this wick on the weekly, let me explain why I drew that out. In terms of the low of next week, remember, I want to see an up close week, so that means I want to see the low get created on Monday and Tuesday. Where though? I want to see the low get made within this range. That's what I'm saying. So let's go to the daily, and you can see that we have a nice little fair value gap created between Friday's low, and Wednesday's high. So there's a slight fair value gap that may get very well traded to, and to be honest, price could and is very much allowed to trade lower, and I'll explain why in a short second. But let's just get that. Let's make that make it orange. And I'll get rid of that midpoint because that looks ugly. So I am looking for this to get traded to. But yeah, as I was saying, price may want to trade deeper than that. And we'll probably see the PDA raise for that on the lower time frame. Now, there is a breaker down here. Low, high, low, low. Price traded higher, came down, touched that breaker high. Right here. And then what happened? Delivered to the upside. Price shouldn't need to come all the way back down here to this breaker. Why? Because we rebalanced that breaker here. So what I'm looking at now is this up close candle and this high. We've got low, high, lower low, and then price is closed above the upside. So I am watching this high specifically, which is that monthly bullish order block open to get traded to. So definitely paying a close attention to that. On the 4 hour, you can see we have a nice breaker here, as in a high before a low, and then we've broken higher. So again, I wouldn't be surprised to see price trade down, potentially fill this liquidity void we've got going on here, and trade into these highs and this order block for us to start seeing a reaction. If we go to the 1 hour, we can get an even closer look. Again, nice fair value gap right there. Breaker, low, high, lower low. So yeah, we'll have to just see where price gets to over the next 2 days. But I am paying close attention to this swing high for potential long into last week's high and that weekly fair value gap I was talking about, just above these relative equal highs up here. So that's going to be everything, guys. I hope this has made sense. Again, typical, I'm going to say let Monday trade. Don't rush it. Let Monday trade. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we can be looking for setups all week. And hopefully it'll be an easy week. I say easy, but like much cleaner than what we've been witnessing. So thanks for watching, guys. And I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to smash subscribe. Join the Discord as well. I am active in there. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.